my dad was a day laborer back in '89, and then when we moved in 1995, actually my mom was working in factories in 34th Street when factories existed back then. And as I went to college, I always saw my parents struggle, bringing in the basic, money to pay rent and making the bills. And right after college, I actually came across to this job because I always wanted to do something in the community, because I grew up actually in the South Bronx, where I saw everyone in my neighborhood struggle with paying rent, dealing with not having basic services just to make a better living. So when I was actually introduced to the work, I was introduced to the day labor organizing work. And for me, even though I was a daughter of a day laborer and I saw my dad struggle, it turned out to be completely, I never thought that, the day labor work actually, when I was introduced to it, I was actually introduced as the 21st century of slavery. And I was, the first day of my job, I was actually taken to the Roosevelt Avenue, and just to get to see what my dad had gone through, stand in the corner, whether it was raining, whether it was cold, just to bring $80 just to make a basic bill of the day, it really touched my heart, and it really made it sense why I was doing it at that time. But it really completely changed when I was taken to another corner in Williamsburg, when I saw mothers doing the same thing. And that just didn't sound right. And that didn't really look right about, yes, there is this pool of male day laborers trying to make it means for their families, but there's also women who are single mothers, being their own fathers and being their own mothers to make the means as well for their kids. And just as I was looking into what it's 21st century slavery, and as we did more research, I actually came across with an article from the 1940s where they called the slavery market for African American women. And I was shocked just to find out that in Jerome, in the Bronx, the idea of hiring halls where women are selling their labor, it's not something new in the 21st century. It's actually something that existed way, way, way back. And I was reading through the articles, and one of the articles, it showed that how the women were just standing and selling their labor for $1. And it created a completely different environment, not only of exploitation, not only of devaluing the work, but also this tense competition among women, that you have to not only fight to get to actually get a dignified job and hopefully be paid a little more, but also the fact that you actually have to fight back to actually get that undignified work. If we're not creating employment and there is no jobs, how we can even be fighting for dignified wages, how we can be fighting for better working conditions where not even jobs are there. So as we were discussing about what can be done, if the issue was jobs, creating that alternative to unemployment, what creative ways can women come up? And we were fortunate enough in that room of 30 women just gathering together, and one of them raised their hands and said, hold on a second. I worked in a cooperative in Ecuador just making cakes, where we didn't have to go and buy and work for a company. We actually created jobs for ourselves. And that conversation just totally made everyone think about it. That is right. If we are coming to this corner looking for work and just coming with the hopes, why aren't we just organizing ourselves, not only for a dignified wage, for a way of also creating employment, and as we have the own control, we can create our own conditions. We can create our own terms of how we want to be hired, how we want to be treated, and how we want to be seen as workers, as women.